Hey crew, I am so excited to share this build video with you all because I never thought the day would come where we can go invisible for 10 seconds as a Titan while having a Void Overshield and just flying in and one-shotting every champion, and get this, still staying invisible even after the shoulder charge happens. This literally blew my mind and I couldn't believe it was possible. You'll see everything getting one shot even in the 1590 Master Nightfall, so the only thing harder is a Grandmaster, and we will go over that in a second here. Now I want you guys to understand that the shoulder charge does 305,000 DPS to Carl over here, and to put that into perspective, a normal Blade Barrage since the Solar 3.0 update does 356,000 DPS. Thanks to AzteCross for breaking down those numbers for us. He is one of the few people I watch and has some awesome content. So you have damage pretty dang close to a great super, but as your melee ability, and we can loop this melee over and over and be safe because we're invisible with a Void Overshield and stay invisible after. I don't know about you guys, but this just blows my mind every time I think about it and how strong this really is. Now on top of all that, you could even add in a Dustfield Hunter to get those huge dust fields on champions and add even more damage because of the extra melee damage while being frozen, since champions are not considered a boss. My teammates Rob and Wayne were having too much fun running it as well, so we didn't even add that in. But when it comes to Grandmasters, we will definitely make sure to bring a Hunter with us to make sure the champions go down in one shot. And even to take it further, you could do something with Void Burn. The 1390 Master Nightfall we're in right now has Solar Burn going on, so think if we had the extra 25% damage from a Void Burn, whether that be in Lost Sectors, whether that be in a Nightfall, Grandmasters, whatever. If it's Void Burn, I mean, it's just GG's after that. I have done a few Falcon builds in the past where we could one-shot things, but now this just takes it to the next level because we're invisible on the Titan. You need the Void Overshield to do that extra damage, right? That extra punch to enemies to really send the damage up over the top. But the problem was you would lose that Void Shield when flying in to do the shoulder charge, and that's why we added in Dustfield Hunters to freeze things so it couldn't shoot us while we were flying in. But now we don't even need that, and you can do this solo pretty dang easily. It's literally drop your barricade, go invisible, fly in, and shoulder charge something, because you have that overshield for 15 seconds and the invisibility lasts 10 seconds. So you literally have a 10-second window to get your shoulder charge off. And if you get that shoulder charge off within, let's say, like 5 seconds, you'll still have 5 more seconds on that invisibility and can just redo the whole loop over and over. I mean, it's just so crazy that this is a thing, and we were having so much fun in the Nightfalls doing this. So our pocket super here that we loop over and over is Shield Bash. So Shield Bash suppresses targets on hit, and then when you get a final blow with it, it also grants you an Overshield. So that's a Void Overshield, and that refreshes our Void Overshield from our barriers that we're gonna get. I was using Vortex Grenade in the gameplay, use whatever you want. We have Offensive Bulwark as the first aspect. While you have an Overshield or inside Ward of Dawn, your grenades charges significantly faster, you have increased melee range and damage, so this is where we're getting the extra damage we need as long as we have the Overshield, and melee final blows extend the duration of your Overshield, so that just changed our Overshields, and we also get a lot of grenade energy while we have the Overshield, and you're going to have an Overshield all the time. Bastion is the other aspect. Cast your super to grant Overshield to nearby allies. Casting your barricade grants Overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the Overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend the Overshield duration. So you can dip in and out of your Overshield, and in some of the gameplay that you've seen, you'll see that I might only have like a quarter of Overshield, but you only need just barely any Overshield to get that extra melee damage, and that's all we want. For the fragments, you're going to be doing Echo of Provision. Damaging targets with grenade grants melee energy. This is just to cycle our melee energy and make sure we always have a melee up available. And we're getting grenade energy by having that Overshield and running High Discipline. So you're going to have a grenade coming up like every 20 seconds or so. And then we're using Echo of Persistence. Void buffs applied to you, Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour have increased duration. This bumps our Overshield up from 9 seconds to 15 seconds, and our invisibility up, I think it's like 5 or 6 seconds to 10 seconds. So very important one right here. This is probably the most important out of the three. And then we also have Echo of Undermining. Your Void Grenades weaken targets. You might as well get a 15% weaken on enemies, right? Debuff them 15%. So we basically are doing 15% more damage to enemies. For weapons, you can use whatever you want except for the exotic. The exotic is what is going to make this build really go and make you invisible, and that is Heart Shadow. This is the new exotic sword you can get from running the dungeon. You can just do the normal version of it, just get boss clears, and that's how you get the sword to drop. Now, what this has here is Exhumation is the exotic intrinsic perk. Heavy attacks made with full sword energy turn you invisible and fire exploding void projectiles. So first off, you don't even need to get a kill, you don't even need to hit enemies. Just do your heavy attack and you're invisible for 10 seconds thanks to our Echo of Persistence from our fragment. Then on top of that, we also have the trait here, Shot in the Dark. Remaining invisible grants this weapon increased damage for a brief duration. We really don't care about that because we're not using the sword very much, but hitting a target with this weapon's projectiles while Shot in the Dark is active weakens them. So you can also go invisible, right? And then do your heavy attack when you get close to something to go invisible again. But if you hit that enemy with the heavy attack, it will add the 15% debuff to them, which is just great. It's just more damage we're going to do with our shoulder charge. And then you can also get the exotic catalyst. That just has faster movement speed while invisible. I tested this with my clanmate Rob. I didn't have the catalyst on. He did have the catalyst on. And as you can see, he does end up being a little faster than me over our 10-second of invisibility. Now for the exotic armor piece, we're using a Peregrine Greaves, the Falcon. And our armor perk here is Peregrine Strike. All shoulder charge abilities, which includes our Shield Bash, deals bonus damage when activated in the air, provides a small benefit to airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons. So the main thing is the damage in the air, and just make sure when you go up in the air to shoulder charge something, make sure you see Peregrine Strike proc on the left hand side, or just give yourself a little bit time in the air. If you do a little bunny hop and shoulder charge something, it will not proc this. So make sure it's procced before you enter the shoulder charge. That's why I always take off a little ways away and then just go in and hit them. Now for mods, the main way we're going to be getting our melee back is with the heavy-handed mod. The heavy-handed mod here is while charged with light, regain half of your melee energy when you use a charged melee ability, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. We're going to be creating wells with melee Wellmaker. Okay, we have 2 copies of melee Wellmaker on, and then we're also going to throw on Bountiful Wells, so that makes 3 wells when we kill somebody with our melee, so that's 3 void wells. And then on top of that, we're using Elemental Charge. So every time we pick up a well, we become charged with light, and that's how we use heavy-handed. That's what's going to proc heavy-handed and spend our charge with light to give us half of our melee back. So anytime that you melee something, you should be getting half your melee back as long as you are charged with light. You should always be charged with light because every time you shoulder charge something, you're getting wells after killing that enemy, and you're picking up those wells, so it's just going to re-proc your charge with light and just keep you going through that cycle. So once you're charged with light one time, it'll just keep flowing through after that. And then we're throwing on utility kickstarts on our class item here because that's going to add to our barricade regen, because we want to make sure we have that barricade to make sure we have the overshield and then go invisible and do the shoulder charge. We have 100 resilience here on the Titan to get that barricade back as fast as possible, and that's why we use utility kickstart to kick those in. And then I also had 90 discipline in the gameplay. That's to get those grenade back as fast as possible, because from our fragment, damaging targets with grenades grants melee energy, so that's another way we're going to get the melee energy. And then on our gauntlets, you can throw on momentum transfer. Causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. So literally, if you have half your melee from heavy-handed and you throw a grenade and hit a target, let that vortex grenade tick on that target for a little bit, and you will see half of your grenade come back just from that, which is a really cool interaction. On your helmet, you could throw on double sword ammo finder, which is what I did, just to make sure I always had sword ammo available. And then on my chest piece, I had sword reserves to add some extra reserves. And then you still just do the normal 2 melee well makers, the bountiful wells, the elemental charge, and the heavy-handed. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope it was enjoyable, and I hope you enjoyed it and it blew your mind, because man, an invisible Titan flying around for 10 seconds doing 305,000 DPS per shot on champions, like, that's just crazy. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.